It started one day in the lab with a shadow on the sun and an elusive short circuit that gave me shock after shock until I was jittery. By the time I had it fixed, the oscillator had gone out of control. I got a series of low-frequency waves that were like nothing I'd ever seen before. Then there was something like a voice speaking out of a very old, jerry-built amateur radio set, except that there wasn't a receiver in the lab, and no one else had heard it. I wasn't sure myself, because right then every instrument in the place went haywire, and 5 minutes later, part of the ceiling hit the floor, and the floor went up through the roof. They found me, they say, lying half-crushed under a beam, and I woke up 18 hours later in a hospital with 4 cracked ribs and a feeling as if I'd had a lot of voltage poured into me. It went in the report that I'd been struck by lightning. It took me a long time to get well. The ribs healed fast, faster than the doctor liked. I didn't mind the hospital part, except that I couldn't walk without shaking or light a cigarette without burning myself for months. The thing I minded was what I remembered before I woke up. Delirium. That was what they told me. But the kind and type of scars on my body didn't ring true. Electricity, even freak lightning, doesn't make that kind of burns. And my corner of the world doesn't make a habit of branding people. But before I could show the scars to anybody outside the hospital, they were gone. Not healed, just gone. I remembered the look on the medic's face when I showed him the place where the scars had been. He didn't think I was crazy. He thought he was. I knew the lab hadn't been struck by lightning. The major knew it too. I found that out the day I reported back to work. All the time we talked, his big pen moved in stubby circles across the page of his logbook, and he talked without raising his head to look at me. "I know all that, Ken Scott. No electrical storms reported in the vicinity. No radio disturbance within 1,000 miles. But," his jaw grew stubborn, "the lab was wrecked and you were hurt. We've got to have something for the record." I could understand all that. What I resented was the way they treated me after I went back to work. They transferred me to another division and another line of work. They turned down my request to follow up those non-typical waves. My private notes were ripped out of my notebook while I was at lunch, and I never saw them again. And as soon as they could, they shipped me to Fairbanks, Alaska. And that was the end of that. The major told me all I needed to know the day before I took the plane to Alaska. His scowl said more than his words, and they said plenty. "I'd let it alone, Ken Scott. No sense stirring up more trouble. We can't bother with side alleys anyhow. Next time you monkey with it, you might get your head blown off, not just a dose of stray voltage out of the blue. We've done everything but stand on our heads trying to find out where that spare energy came from and where it went. But we've marked that whole line of research closed, Ken Scott.